Thank you. I'm going to move on now to ask about climate change education. I heard the minister earlier today talking about how it's a disservice to students, I believe the words intergenerational abuse were used, to not prepare students for the future. And I hope that the minister would agree that not preparing our children for the future and frankly the present of climate breakdown and climate emergency would fall under that category as well. I'm wondering if the minister could speak to if the minister's familiar with the climate change education plan. I have one that was prepared and partially funded by the department here. The Gaia project worked on it, and I'm wondering what are the plans around implementation and the timeline for that. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And say that the English and Francophone sectors are sort of working together on a similar path on this portfolio, which is great. It's part of the 10-year plan as well. And so that's something that's underway right now, and I've had numerous meetings with students over the last few months as well, and encourage them to, especially given the level of interest in the subject, to push for ever stronger curriculum content for on this subject. Because I think it's absolutely important, and so there's. We've been collaborating with different groups, including the Gaia group, various environmental organizations, and we're going to be continuing to do that, and would welcome the honourable member's assistance if she has additional ways that she can think of to help us make this stronger. That's all to the good. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair to the minister. I'm glad to hear that type of response. I'm wondering, is there funding for example, in this education plan, one of the things highlighted is that professional development is a necessary component of implementing this climate change education plan. Is there funding for professional development, and is there potentially even a position within government being created to lead this type of project, or who will be responsible for making sure this gets implemented?
So the chair to the member opposite. So one of our competencies is sustainability and global citizenship. So that's a lot of this work is focusing through that, and also on changes to our science curriculum, which we're expecting to be completed in the next 3 years, fully rolled out, although there are lots of on-ramps in the meantime. Each district has a science lead, and they would be expected to have this work around climate change and environmental science to be included in their general work. So that's the intention, again, is to very much mainstream the discussion around this issue and have it into our schools. But I know at the same time in some schools there are students working with teachers on sort of locally designated courses and other things, so that's certainly something we can also continue to look at. But it's important this be part of the mainstream curriculum, and that's certainly where we're going, and expect to complete that journey in a couple of years' time. Hopefully a few years after that we'll actually have turned a corner on climate change.
Well, I would certainly echo that sentiment that hopefully we've turned a corner on climate change very, very soon. There seems to be a disconnect from my impression, speaking with different people within the education system, between being able to implement and teach on climate change, what's being felt on the ground, and then what I think the minister is expressing around the urgency and the importance of making sure this gets mainstreamed. I understand that there is a plan to take several years. I wonder though, I mean, minister was with me in Sackville on a much appreciated visit when students handed us letters demanding that the curriculum include climate change basically immediately. And I understand government moves slowly, but I wonder, our province is rich with the types of resources around education on climate change, on the environment. We have a strong network of environmental NGOs that I think are ready to go and already have programs developed. And then I'm also hearing teachers saying, I want to teach on this, not sure how to do it. I wonder if there could be leadership shown and a way to connect these, connect teachers in schools with these ENGOs and I guess look into this needs to be a priority, this is urgent. A 10-year, for example, 10-year education plan, like that takes too long for the type of emergency we're facing. I wonder if there will be professional development or some sense of urgency around how quickly we should be moving on this issue.
To the chair, to the member opposite, thank you for that question, and I agree with the sense of urgency. It's something where we have got schools across the province who are in many cases already teaching on the sustainability goals, for example. There are programs already underway in many schools, and those are accelerating. This would not be one of the last things to be dealt with under the 10-year plan. The goal is to have this process sort of fully rolled out within the 3 years. But there's nothing to stop that from being accelerated in some schools, and there's an option that I've talked about with a number of teachers and principals, just because I've talked with them on the subject of this and other needs that aren't reflected in the full curriculum. And but just make a brief sort of diversion on that just the honourable member is gone now, so I can't watch his reaction as I talk about the summit again. But and I apologise for referencing the presence or absence of a member. That we hope at the summit to talk about how we can expand this. And I want to make it also really clear that if you have any concerns, or member opposite has any concerns around districts or schools who aren't pushing this in a way that she feels appropriate, please do let me know. Because on this, as on other subjects like vaccines, which I've recently been chatting about, compliance with the decisions made at the department is not optional. And this is another area where we hear a clear demand, there is a clear need, and we will act on it.